Mr. Fiorucci,
Yes.
there's someone who wants to say hello to you from New York.
Yes. Wow. Wow. Pronto. Hello. Colette. Delio. Hi. How are you?
Hello? 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 Kisses all over. All over. Oh, hello, Brian. What's happening? What time is it?
Thank you. I will. If I'm free, I will.
Well, real estate. Let's do some real estate for Well, nobody else knows it's ours.
Right.
You know, who else is going to know?
So she's Colette.
It's an art piece. It's a living, breathing art piece. Hi, I'm John.
Colette. That's Colette. She will do it.
Colette? Oh, she's the artist. She's already artist. I'm hired. She is. She's doing a good job. I hate
She does look fabulous, Anton. Do you know Peter Burns?
Let's talk about galleries.
Hi, Peter. Thanks. Saw you met
Oh, I would, he's learning about it, so I would say he may not get the It's art thing. So
You have a gallery?
It's art artists.
It's all living art, really an impressive body of work. I guess you'd call it conceptual. It seems to be more about feelings and thoughts. You were so joyfully female that a lot of men find that quite disturbing, you know.
Gracias. This is Wilson's.
Hello, Wilson's.
I'm Derek.
This is not a Wilson. This is not a Wilson. This is Maggie. Hello, Maggie.
This is my Kristen. She's called Marriott Hotels.
Yes, I know that.
I almost syndicated it, and then you took it back.
No, we did sit there.
Was named after Colette Devine. Had many other names, and the latest one is Lumiere.
Colette Lumiere. There's a name that every person who knows contemporary art knows. That's an important name in the world of art, not only visual, but fashion, music, performance. I mean, Colette Lumiere has been called a prophet. She's been referred to for 3 decades as Blaze Runner, pioneer, precursor.
Is there any place that, other than down here, that the viewer can go to see your work?
I'm going to Venice to do a show last minute. It was arranged by my friend Alan Jones, who did the book on the art dealers, and Leo Castelli's arranging a show at an aristocrat called Paolo Barozzi, who discovered a lot of artists, so I'm going to meet him, and they're making room in his space for me to do something.
You here? Oh my God, you know, I was just falling down. I was going to take a little nap. I better come and get you. Did you bring the grapes? Great. I'll be right down. Bye.
We didn't know the area at all, and my husband Stan and I were looking for property with acreage. We didn't want to be in the cookie-cutter development, so we really didn't know where to go. A lot of the realtors down here that we contacted were showing us all the beach properties with the quarter-acre lots, and we wanted something with more property. And we found Real Estate Hookup. We wanted to be out closer to the woods. We wanted woods in our backyard, and Real Estate Hookup really helped us find the realtor that knew where to, find the properties with acreage.
Thanks, Real Estate Hookup. Call us at 843-868-1214. That's 843-868-1214. RealEstateHookup.com.
I guess I began as a painter, but very soon after, I'm pretty much self-taught, I felt like art should go outside of the canvas. And then I also wanted to be a filmmaker. So I wanted to do a film on this woman or girl or whatever, I was pretty young then, who came from outer space and was trying to communicate with her friends of how she landed on Earth. And so I was painting these diagrams on the street, and this was the beginning, these hieroglyphics, which I call my personal hieroglyphics, magic symbols, secret code I would have shown many years later. And I was painting them on the street and was filming myself doing it, or somebody was filming me. And then I realized I couldn't go through with this film. I just didn't have the financing, but I loved the visual aspects of it. And this started me doing these street works.
Hello? Nice to see you. Gotta go now. Sorry, gotta go now. Hello? How are you? So nice to see you. What you been doing? Oh, really? Well, I gotta go now. How do you do? What do you do? Oh, toodaloo, toodaloo, toodaloo. Who are you? What do you do? Toodaloo, toodaloo, toodaloo. H-I-A-T-L-L-O. Hi, hello. I've got to go.
Clock Tower Gallery Oral History Project. Jeffrey Deitch.
So, I will never forget one particularly remarkable show at the Clock Tower with Colette around 1974 or 75. She put her bed in the center of the main gallery, and I think a number of her parachute silk wall pieces were up around to create her context. And she was simply there in the middle of the gallery, nude, sleeping in the bed. You can imagine how astonishing this was in the mid-1970s, and where Colette was doing something that had never been done in art quite that way before. And of course, there was the John and Yoko bed piece and things. There are other precedents, but this presenting herself as a kind of living sculpture. And the idea that she was sleeping, and the romanticism, the eroticism of it, and also presenting it as a minimal performative object was a remarkable thing. And for me, this was one of the most important, most stimulating exhibitions that I'd seen at that time in New York.
I don't know even where to start before I say too much. I'm going to introduce you now to Colette Lumiere.
I'm a New York downtown girl, but I was born in Tunis, but I should tell you that I grew up in Nice, in France, so I really come from three cultures, and I guess my work became a blending of them all.
I was dealing with self-transformation and role-playing, gender roles. I was exploring, life and art. And I was exploring the role of the artist, the line between art and commerce, and blurring the line between art and life. The first performance, Homage to Delacroix, then Stefanidi Gallery, where I exhibited with the conceptual artist. 73. 75, the Clock Tower was a big one, real dream, right? Oh, the opening of PS1 was another extraordinary situation where I posed as Marat, and I called it David's Wrath. 78, the Mud Club, and I was very, very present in that scene, and that led to Danceteria. I lived in that place practically. I lived with Rudolph.
One of your first collectors was Miles Davis.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. There's so many stories. I forget that we will be here forever. A huge painting of the Warhol superstars. I had gone to a Warhol party. I was very young, and I was repressed. So I came home and painted those Warhol superstars, and ended up in Miles Davis' house.
When I first saw Colette's window performance, and I saw the people walking, and here was magic, and the people felt bad because they saw what they were missing in life. They were missing the magic of life. And Colette was showing them in New York as some crappy record shop.
I did do rooms in my studio wherever I could find a situation. Did you ever hear of the Idea Warehouse? I did an incredible piece there, and that was my introduction to Alana, a man called Stephen Weichert, who was pivotal in a way of getting Alana to know my work. She saw the things I did at the Stefanidi Gallery, and she says, oh, we want to do something with her. So the Idea Warehouse was my first step into that world. It was called If It Takes Forever, I Will Wait For You. So I did this piece, and after the opening, I stayed in this piece sleeping. There was hardly any public, but that was wonderful in a way, because we did these things not because we were going to be famous and rich. We did these because we felt we wanted to, we needed to,
We know each other since 25 years right now, or something like this. We met in a bar. It was a very nice restaurant at the Kudam in Berlin. She was decorating a club. Colette is one of the first artists who are doing room-in-room installations. Before, she already was doing signs on the Broadway. After this signs, she was doing her first installation in the Fiorucci shop in New York, and was decorating a window there.
E a me era piaciuta questa sua idea, perché questa cosa della vetrina a me sembrava che fosse una comunicazione così diretta con il pubblico.
She was using her rooms to invite people. Communication is a very big part in Colette's work. She really makes a conceptual art, but at the end it turns out it's a decorative art.
Oh my God.
She's very unique because of this. Many people are very scared from the art business to work with her because she is decorative. But her decorative way in acting is a concept. So she is a conceptual artist, the first and only conceptual artist who is making decorative artworks.
I was born in Tunisia, and when I was young I lived in Nice, in France, and then I came here in my early teenage years, although I've been back in Europe a lot. But I did start when I was a little girl. I always rearranged rooms, and I was always interested in theater and literature and music, and I've used it all in my art.
And what Jean Cocteau said, what the public resents about you, cultivate it. It is you.
70s. I know at this time conceptual art was becoming very important, and the conceptual artists were friends of mine and exhibited with me. I felt art should not undermine the emotions and the body, more a balance between the three is what I was looking for in my work. The visual aspects to me were very important, and they kind of were played down by the conceptualist, you know. And the feminine aspect, the instinctive, I felt was important, which women, feminists, were denying. I think they were in denial of who they were, and they were not my friends, they were not my supporters in the 70s, strangely enough. I was famous, but a lot of people hated me for the wrong reasons, you know. A lot of artists had a different idea what women artists should look like, or they looked at, I think, you know, it invited a lot of animosity as well as support.
If I'm nude in a piece, it doesn't have to do with me being nude. Of course, I'm nude for a reason. Mostly because visually it works better, or maybe I'm trying to convey something, you know.
I heard somebody say recently that important work has to do with reflecting what's going on in our times. Those are important artists. And I don't really agree with that. I mean, as a rule, you know, I think I'm more like a visionary. Just like I go beyond feminism, I think I go beyond time. I'm looking for magic. I'm looking for higher consciousness in my work. I'm looking for spirituality. All these things I never really talked about much in my interviews when I was younger. I was very reluctant to make these references. I felt they were pretentious, you know. And I think at this point, maybe I need to it would be good to do so, because it might help people understand my work better. Because when I did the clock tower piece, people centered I was naked. And I think that would create a space now like this without me in it, without me naked, it would still be very, very magical.
Coming out
Je peux rentrer?
of the parapet.
Combination, s'il
Hello.
vous plaît.
Is this tonight, Paolo Barotti's tea party?
Non, 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 vous trichez. J'ai besoin un peu de lumière. Désolée. Alors, je reviens.
On ne parle anglais à la maison de la lumière. En pavant se passe plus élégant. On ne parle anglais à la maison de la lumière. En pavant se passe plus élégant.
My name is Corey Hay, and tonight Anton Parrish and I are at the downtown Whitney Museum, where we're interviewing Colette, artist, poetess. What is the point of the piece?
The title of the show is called Out of the House. Women artists have been asked to give a piece that had to do with things from the house. And I reconstructed a part of my apartment. For the opening, I did a special performance which was separate from that title, called The Last Stitch.
Colette is dead. I died.
I died at the Whitney Museum as a performance, and became Justine. My first appearance as Justine, which was the resurrection of Colette, took place at PS1. And I posed as a rock star because entertainers were much more accepted as females, you know, than artists, you know. And I posed as an interior designer and, and fashion designer. Justine stood for justice, which was she became an entrepreneur and started ripping off Colette's vision. Justine was the first persona that I lived as a work of art. All this ended when I went to Berlin, 84. I took down the living environment and started a new persona, Mata Hari and the Stolen Potatoes.
In a normal capital, normal under quotation marks, you have dinners, the press starts speaking, stops. So what does this mean? You whisper him something you need for 1 second, and you have a yes or no, or I'm going to see. Follow a conference for 3 hours, so you have to go to Munich, Germany. Classless, you don't see the artists there.
I became the Countess Raschenbach in Bavaria. So I made a series called Darcy for Scandal, where they would have to hire me to go to a party to make a scandal, which is what they wanted. I go back to New York more permanently. in the early 90s to a very political climate. And I was against that. And again, I went against the grain because it was not politically correct. The House of Olympia was all about bringing back beauty, chivalry, and good manners. I brought back the salon of the 18th century. And Lumière came after September 11 for very obvious reasons. You know, the need to go to the essential, to become lighter. And my life has become that way anyway because I lost my love. Demolition real estate in New York, and a lot of artists have been pushed out of New York who make New York what it is. So my work became even more nomadic. It's nomadic by nature, Jonathan Crary wrote, you know. There's a nomadic principle, he wrote, and I thought that was really well described.
Vito Conci also, I was very curious. No, I never
knew Vito very well, but I've seen lately a lot because he had a studio at my studio in Dumbo in the same building. And he's the one person I never got to know very well. So I talked to him because he was very close to Dennis. I said, you know, Vito, you're the one that I knew the least. But because of Dennis, I felt like I really know you because there was not one evening I would spend with Dennis or a conversation or a dinner that he did not mention you. And he says, yeah, we were very close and we bounced off in each other's ideas, and it was wonderful.
But why, you all had studios in the same
No, it started with Stefanelli, because Stefanelli took on the conceptual artists. It started with that, and then I got to know them all.
We all have many facets, we are all many people.
Colette's storage, very briefly, is the Vittoriale of Gabriele D'Annunzio. It's like you have coffee and then you have instant coffee. So it's concentrated. So Colette has jammed all in this terrible real estate world of New York in a small room. It's threatened, it is precarious, and it's what they call now a Gesamtkunstwerk.
I admire you for your strength because you must be very strong to face all these opinions. To communicate this very personal way of doing art to others, to people because people always want to put you in a category.
Yes, exactly. No, this was a problem for the critics too, but I met Alan. And Alan got it right away. He understood they called Denise. He knew exactly. He understood everything. And if you know him, he inspires everybody. He discovered so many artists in New York. He helped so many artists bring out their talent or even make their art. I hate to say it. Kill the curator.
Just give me that hammer.
No. These are some records from the story of my life. And they document historical events in my art history.
But the work of art, it's you.
What I was telling Colette the other evening was that if you have the privilege to be maudit, enfant terrible, monstre sacré, et poète maudit.
It's incredible how through you and Colette, it comes back all the influence of Jean Cocteau and
yes.
In New York,
yes.
Because Johnny Myers was always talking about Rimbaud. Because many years ago I was crazy, I was always reading about Rimbaud and Verlaine and Jean Cocteau, because all this group of Americans in Venice in the 60s, they were talking a lot about.
So I did that in front of the gallery on the street, and of course I did it 4 a.m. and the police arrested me.
At 4 a.m?
Yes. And then these are making fun of my conceptual friends, because I traveled with them and I couldn't carry much, so I put everything in a little box.
Right.
And their documentation of the documentation of the actual work.
Wonderful. He'd been at the Hudson and I thought he did a really deep job. I was so impressed.
I mean, I know Alan Jones called the show politically correct. The truth is, I try to stay out of politics completely, although being an artist is a political act, obviously, and I do comment on contemporary culture, because I believe that art should transcend everything, you know, should elevate the spirit. So when art just becomes a recording for bad news, it doesn't mean anything to me, and I went against the grain. There is irony in the work, of course, but I think art still has to be kind of sacred. The rooms, to me, they were like sacred spaces. So that element of magic must stay in the work, no matter what. Art is the language of symbols, and you really cannot put it in words. If you see one of my rooms or my artworks or photo works or whatever, objects, and you don't feel anything, the words mean nothing. Most collectors and art people take art seriously from their ears, but not from their eyes and their soul. I mean, let's face it, they love that art. And the other thing, it's really become so close to fashion because people buy labels. They want to feel important, hanging a label. They don't look at it, they just want to know that it's okay to have this on your wall.
Complimenti, perché tu sei una grande artista adesso. Un abbraccio. Kiss.